two big things. I do want to talk about the Trump tariffs. I don't think they'll ever go into effect because it was never defined what the tariffs were supposed to do.
I think what they're going to be on. Yeah.
What they're going to be on. So is it foreign movies being released in the States? And you and I know, Alan and Jim, that's a small market. A French film or some movie from India or China, they don't get big releases in the States. It's
if they're lucky, they'll make $10 million at the box office.
If that. Most of them makes a small amount of money. It's a very narrow, it's a niche market. It's a niche market. So I don't know how you regulate that. Plus, like if I want to buy a movie on VOD that was from India or China or whatever, like how do you regulate that? I think he's more talking about bringing production back to the US. I think that's his concern. But even that, how do you regulate that? And how do you determine? I think the tariffs are a big stick that will get people talking to try to address the issue. I don't see them ever because it's not well defined. I'm saying he's bringing attention to the issue, but it's got to be defined to be even addressed. So I think people will freak out because anything Trump does freaks everyone out in the industry. You and I were talking. It was just like, I'm not political. I'm just like, what is this? But you see people feel like they have to pick a side.
But the thing is, Newsom has never talked about this in any meaningful way. None of the LA politicians have talked about this in any meaningful way. Adam Schiff, our congressman, never talked about this in any meaningful way. And it took Trump to bring this out to get people to talk about it in some meaningful way.
Yeah. Now they're all talking about it. I mean, listen, we did a movie in Kentucky 2 years ago, and it was one of the first films in Kentucky. One of the guys from Kentucky, who's very savvy and smart, pulled me aside and said, you know why there's a film incentive program now in Kentucky? I'm like, why? He goes, because Bashir wants to run for president in 2028. And that's when I didn't even know.
Is that real?
Yeah, that's what he said. He said he's trying to make it look great and glossy here, but that's smart thinking on the political side. Whether they're going to, it really brings in that much work or not, they're thinking like that where, they're not thinking like that in California. That's what I just all the time just think there's no creative thinking. Like I said, it's not a Democrat or Republican issue. It's no creative thinking across the board in any of our politics anymore. There's so many problems in California. Nobody has a solution for anything. And this is just part of it, but it bums me out because I know so many people. I'll be fine because I can go anywhere, work on a movie, but I get those calls now that says, I'll get a call from producers saying, hey, do you got a script for X actor that needs to be $4 million action and we have to shoot in Austria? That's all they care about. They don't even care about the plot or anything. It has to be action, have a female lead, can be made for less than $4 million and shot in Austria, whether it's Austria or somewhere in Europe, location-wise. Those are the conversations people are having now.
So, I think none of this tariff nonsense is going to happen. And I think every article I've read, this is from Variety, it says Donald Trump's plan to enforce 100% tariff on foreign produced movies is being met with shock and confusion in the film industry. And then it goes on. This makes no sense. A UK producer says it implies that a US film is meant to shoot in the US, but the Harry Potter films, Lord of the Rings, Schindler's List, Mission Impossible, Gladiator, Aviator, and so many more are US films that shot overseas for obvious reasons. Do these films have to shoot in the US from now on? It's an absurd announcement with no meaning nor understanding of storytelling or creative impulses. We can go to the story. I think none of this will come to light. I think that every article I've read thus far has been speculation, and but it brings up an important issue, which is why has there not been, Jim, ask you, why has there not been a summit where people in the industry get together and say, we have to address in a real and meaningful way things that are killing our industry. Mm-hmm. I mean, the heads of all the studios bring in some indies and sit down and really discuss privately what is happening and how the industry is getting killed. Costs are out of control. And it's had production flee. What are your thoughts?
I think a big part of it's Netflix and Amazon and all these streamers. Because I remember we went to Netflix, I don't know, maybe 2017 or 2018 to pitch a TV show. And we're sitting in the lobby, and I'm sure you've probably been to the lobby there. It's like they have like free sandwiches and you know, whatever you want. You know? Yeah, it's crazy in that place. And we had just pitched the same show like at, I don't know, Universal and Warner Brothers, a few places. And at those pitches, we went to these old school 1920s bungalows, you know, and then we go to Netflix and it's like crazy. And I said to the producer on the show, I said, I don't know if I trust a company that spends this much on a lobby. And he goes, you know, he said to me, he was so right. He goes, don't look at them as an entertainment company. They're a tech company. They're just trying to get market share. He goes, it doesn't matter. They're just spending money to get market share. And that's what happened. That's what happened the last 5-6 years. That's why there's so much garbage and bad TV and films is everybody were racing against each other. Well, nobody was paying attention. You know, the money spigots were just on for everything. And now that everybody's tightening their belts, they're like, holy shit, what's going on? That's what I think really is happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, you have to actually make money. I mean, we saw Thunderbolts the other night. Like $30 is a lot for a movie, but imagine if we had to pay 50, you know, I don't know if I'd go.
69.
Well, a lot of people have decided not to go even with like $25 a month for A-list. It's a hard time finding an A-list, AMC A-list. Now you can see 4 movies a week, every week with your AMC A-list membership. But I was in a conversation thread with a bunch of people. I don't know that I can find 4 movies a week I want to see, much less 1 movie a week.
True.
So the market isn't really giving the audience what they're looking for.